Welcome to Weather's Wealth. My name is Autumn. I am an elder millennial born in the 1980s, and I work in corporate America as a technical trainer. About 5 years ago, I got really into my family's personal finance, and I became obsessed with becoming debt-free, with budgeting, saving, investing, retirement, all the things a person nearing the age of 40 might need to start taking seriously. So I have learned a lot over the past 4 or 5 years, and I'm excited to share what I've learned with you and for us to keep learning together. Subscribe to my channel, Weather's Wealth, to follow along my personal finance journey and hopefully learn some things along the way. Today, I want to talk about a method of budgeting that I've been using for the past 4 years that has absolutely simplified the way that I manage my family's money and has gotten me steps and steps closer to reaching my financial goals. I don't see a lot of people talk about it a lot, but today we're going to be talking about zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting is a budgeting method where every dollar has a job. That does not mean that its job is to be spent. It just means that for your monthly budget, every single dollar is allocated to a particular category. I have a spreadsheet linked below of the zero-based budget template that I use. Feel free to download that, save your own copy of it. And we're also going to be hopping into that spreadsheet to see what an example zero-based budget could look like. I've been following zero-based budgeting for years, and every December you have to set up a new budget for the year to come. So today we're going to be talking about a sample budget, but if you want to see my actual budget that I'm actually going to be making for my family in 2025, don't forget subscribe to this channel. It'll be out next week, and if you're watching this past next week, you can find the video here. This is the actual budget that I use with our actual income, mine and my husband's actual income, our actual expenses, to really see how we're managing our money and what our monthly goals look like. Okay, hopping into zero-based budgeting. The first thing I want to do is talk about the bank accounts that need to be set up in order to make this budgeting method work. Now for me, I think it works best with 3 bank accounts. You don't need 3, but you really need at least 2. But honestly, 3 is optimal, and I have found no issue creating 3 checking accounts at one bank, and I've helped several of my friends establish zero-based budgeting, and they've had no problem setting up 3 checking accounts either. And I know 3 checking accounts might seem like a lot, but they each have a specific purpose and they just make things so much simpler to manage. So the first checking account is the deposit account. The deposit account is where all of your income gets deposited to. So this is where your direct deposits will come in. If any other money you receive goes into that deposit account, it's really just to receive money. I claim that. I do claim receiving lots of money into my deposit account. The next account is the bill account. The bill account is named the bill account because this is the account all your bills are going to come from. So this is where you're going to pay all of your bills out of every month. You're going to transfer money from your deposit account into your bill account, and then you're going to use that money to pay your bills. Now, the balance of your bill account at the beginning and end of each month should be 0. Hence the term zero-based budgeting. So we start at 0 in our bill account. We transfer chunks of money, usually in line with our paycheck. So usually twice a month, you're going to transfer a sum of money from your deposit account to your bill account. You're going to pay your expenses. In the middle of the month, you're going to deposit, make that next deposit. You're going to pay the rest of your expenses. And then at the end of the month, you will have money left over. And that money gets transferred into your surplus account. The third account is called your surplus, and it's where any extra money that's left over at the end of the month from your current month, it's where that goes. So that once again, at the end of the month, your bill account is at 0. We always want to start a new month at 0. So the deposit account receives our money, and then we pour that into the bill account, which is where we pay our bills from. And then anything that's extra and left over, we pour that into our surplus account in case we need to use it in the future. Those are the 3 checking accounts that I think just make zero-based budgeting so much easier. Okay, now we're going to hop into the spreadsheet and we're going to look at how to actually set up a zero-based budget. We're going to do a 3-month example. So we're going to do January, February, March, just to look at how to set up your budget and then how to use it from month to month. I do everything in Microsoft Excel. I am an Excel girly, but I'm pretty sure you can open this in Google Sheets. Numbers, I honestly don't know anything about Apple numbers, so please don't ask. But we're going to be looking at an Excel spreadsheet. Once again, this template is available for you to download in the description box of this video. Before we hop into it, let's talk about the column headers for each month. Firstly, you'll notice we have expense categories. So this is where we're going to be listing all of our expense categories and bills that we have for the month. And then if we look at the month of January right here, these column headers at the top. We're going to start a little out of order. So first is actually going to be date due. Date due just means what day of the month is the bill due. Date paid is what day of the month did you actually pay the bill. Remaining balance, this is for if you have any sort of loan, say like a mortgage or a student loan, like a credit card, something that has a balance that when you make a payment, it goes down every month. This is a place where you can actually enter in that balance and it gets summed up right here so that you can take a holistic look of how much debt you currently have. Next, we have current bill in. This is a dollar amount of how much money for the current month are you allocating to a particular expense category. And so if it's something stable that stays the same every month, such as your rent, it'll just be the same amount every month. We're going to put in the same amount toward the expense category. Beginning surplus. This is how much money is in our surplus account for each expense category. At the beginning of the year, it's going to be zero. There's going to be $0 in our surplus account. Then we have current bill out. So this is how much money that you've set aside for the current month is going toward the payment for the particular bill. Once again, if it's like your rent, you're going to put in the exact amount that you need, and then you're going to spend the exact amount that you need. We'll see what that looks like in a minute, but how much of the currently set aside money is going to pay off that bill? And then we have the surplus out. There's going to be some months where you want to pull from your surplus in order to pay a bill. And so how much money are you bringing from surplus in order to pay that bill? And then the total paid is just the sum of those numbers. How much from your current bill in and your surplus did you use to pay the bill? Once again, we'll take a look at that in examples. And then we have the amount to transfer. The amount to transfer is if you do not use up all of the money for a particular category in a certain month, you are going to transfer that to your surplus account, and this tells you exactly how much to transfer. And then we have our ending surplus balance. After you make that transfer, what is the total in the surplus account for a particular expense category? So these are the columns that you need. You'll just see they repeat from month to month. And then at the very bottom here, we have a table for all of our lifestyle expenses. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but we do have a table here for all of our transactions that don't necessarily fit into an expense category. All right, now that we got that covered, let's start filling in some expense categories. The first thing we're going to do is list out all of your monthly bills in order of due date. So these are things that you have to pay. So rent, mortgage, student loan, car payment, car insurance, cell phone, like these are things you have to pay people. Those are your bills. Let's list those out. And we're just going to, for this example, we're going to list them out in order of due date. So this is going to be due January 1st, 2025. This is our mortgage. So rent and mortgage payments are always usually due on the first of the month. Okay. And the current bill in, once again, is how much does that cost? Okay, we'll say in this example, our rent is $1,100. All right. And then we just keep going. Okay, so let's say cell phone is due on the 5th of the month. Cell phone's $100. We have electric. That's due on the 8th of the month. So the electric bill is one of those funny things because it fluctuates from month to month. In the summer, when we don't have on our air conditioning a lot, it'll be a lot lower than in the winter when we have on our heat, and it's going to be higher. So what I usually do is add up every bill from the past year and then divide that by 12 to find the average amount that I spend on electric each month. So we'll say in this example, I'm going to put aside $200 a month for the electric bill. Next, we have trash. So trash is one of those bills that only gets paid every 3 months. And so in our example here, trash isn't due until March. And let's say that trash is generally $120. So every 3 months, trash costs $120, meaning that for every month, I want to set aside $40 so that on the third month, I have that complete trash amount to use to pay the trash. Because again, zero-based budgeting means that every dollar has a job, and sometimes the dollar's job is just to sit there and get collected until the next month so that it can be spent. All right, next, let's say we got student loan. That's due on the 11th. And the student loan is one of those ones where we actually have a balance, and to be honest, so is the mortgage. So I'm just going to remove the formatting so that we can actually type some numbers in there. Okay, so let's say our starting mortgage balance is $225,000, and our student loan, the payment that we have, or the remaining balance that we have on there, is $27,000. And notice at the bottom here, the total balance is adding up. Okay, next we got Netflix. We absolutely love our television, and so Netflix is due on the 13th of every month, and that's like $16.99. Oh, I forgot to mention, okay, our student loan payment every month is $250. So that's how much we want to set aside for our student loan payment. Okay, we have a credit card. We'll say it is a Chase credit card, and that's due on the 15th of the month. And the minimum payment there is $369.99. And that's going to change month to month depending on, the actual balance. Now, the name of the game is to get rid of this credit card completely. And right now we have a balance of $9,200 in our example here. And so we'll see how it goes when we're putting money into different places to try to pay off some debt. But yeah, this is what we're working with right now. We have a car payment, and that also has a balance. So say our car loan is at $35,000. Our payment's also due on the 15th, and our car payment is $450 a month. And our car insurance is due on the 19th of the month, and that's $250. And then we have internet because we need internet, and that's also due on the 19th, and that is $100. Okay, let's say we have another credit card, and that balance is $5,000, and that monthly payment comes out to be $249. That's due on the 20th. All right, and if you had childcare or any other recurring bill, like anything you owe anybody, you can continue to put it here. But for us, say that this is all of our bills are right here. So think of these expense categories as each having their own little piggy bank. And every month you put a specific amount of money into each one, and then you spend a specific amount of money from each expense account. Or if you're familiar with the concept of cash stuffing, think of each of these as being their own envelope. You're putting a specific amount of money in there for that specific purpose, and then any money you spend out of there is for that specific purpose. But this is also where you can put in your savings goals. So say I want to transfer money every month to my high yield savings account for my emergency fund. And then say I want to transfer money every month for, I'm just going to call it fun money. But like if you wanted to set aside money for Christmas gifts, and then also this is where we could put brokerage account if we want to set aside a specific amount of money for investing. Anything you want to set money aside for to give its own little piggy bank, this is what you put on there. And then finally at the bottom, we have a category called lifestyle expenses. This is a catch-all for everything else. So this is, we haven't mentioned gas, groceries, if you want to eat out, if you want to buy something off Amazon, right? Like we haven't talked about where that money comes from. So think about how much money you spend or you want to spend, or log into your bank account, actually really take a look at how much you've been spending for the past couple of months. And that should give you a good idea about how much you should give yourself as a lifestyle expense allowance. Say that you take a look at your expenses over the last 3 months and you realize that you spend about $1,000 a month on gas, groceries, shopping, eating out. But you say, you notice that a lot of that is DoorDash and you want to try to cut back. So you want to give yourself $900 in your lifestyle account. Okay, so this is our monthly, what I like to call cost of living. So $4,025, this is how much money it costs to keep us alive during the month. This is also a good number because it gives you a target for your emergency fund. So best practice is that your emergency fund contains 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Your living expenses are right here, $4,000. So you either want to have, at least 12 up to $24,000 in an emergency fund for unforeseen circumstances. So that's why it's important to calculate your cost of living so that you know what your monthly expenses are, and not just your expenses, but like eating and living, like how much money does it take to keep your house going? And then that's how you know how much you'll need for an emergency fund. But for us, it is $4,025.98. Okay, the next thing you have to do is compare your income to your cost of living. You're going to find one of two things. Either you make more income than your cost of living, or you make less income than your cost of living. If your income is less than the number that you've calculated, you've come to a stopping point. And you either need to do one of two things. You need to cut expenses from your cost of living. So maybe you've looked at your income and you realize it's only $3,900 a month. So you say, okay, I can only afford to have $700 in my lifestyle account. I guess I can't afford to have $900, right? So that's going to determine, okay, maybe I can't go out to eat as much. Maybe I can't shop as much as I'm used to. Or you have to say, oh, I make $200 fewer than I need. I got to figure out a way to make more money. The easiest thing to do is going to be to cut expenses, but I'm not saying that's the only option. Like, figure out how to make more money. In the meantime, you might have to cut some expenses, but as you increase your income, you can increase your cost of living. And I don't mean that as in to buy more expensive stuff, but you can have more money to save, to invest, to do all these other things. But you can't go anywhere if you're not making enough money to cover your monthly cost of living. In the example that we're going to be looking at, we are assuming that you have enough to cover your cost of living and a little sum left over. And so let's look at that. If we look at our income, we get paid twice a month, and each take-home paycheck is $2,550. That means that in a month, we make $5,100. Yay, us. That means we got some money to put somewhere. So notice our cost of living is only $4,025. We can get that up to $5,000. So even though we bring in $5,100, me personally, I never like to put all of that into my bill account, to put it all toward my bills, because I like to have a little something hanging out in my deposit account every once in a while. It's human nature to want to act impulsively and to want to lash out and just impulse spend. And so if you don't have to allocate every single dollar toward your bills budget, you can just keep a little, $50 a paycheck or something like that in your deposit account. That's going to start to accumulate over time. And every few months, you have enough to get yourself a little treat, right? So say, even though we bring home $5,100, we're only going to be putting $5,000 into our budget. So $5,000 moves into our bill account every month. So what that means is right now we're at $4,025.98. We got to find somewhere else for that essential $1,000 to go. And this is where your savings comes in, your investing comes in, or your aggressive debt payoff comes in, right? We have to get this number to 5,000. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a formula here, 5,000 minus this, and this lets us know how much money we're working with. So I have to find somewhere for $974.02 to go. Firstly, I want to put $300 in my emergency fund because I have not started funding that at all. So that's where I'm going to put that. And then I'm going to give myself $100 a month for fun money. And I'm thinking fun money, you can use this for Christmas presents, or you could actually have another category for Christmas presents if like it's that important to you that you want to set aside specific money. Everything you list here is where you want to set aside specific money. So maybe it's pet care or something like that. Now for me, all of that goes into lifestyle expenses. I just get it all from that number at the bottom. But if you want to set aside, I've had friends set aside things for pet care, home decor, things like getting your nails done, like things you know that you want to get done, set it aside in your expense category. All right, so that means that I can afford to invest $100 in my brokerage account. We'll be talking all about brokerage account in other videos if you want to learn how I invest and what I'm currently doing. But say you want to transfer money to your stock market account. Okay, that leaves us $474 left. So do you know what that means? I'm going to up my lifestyle expenses account by $200. That means I'm giving myself a treat of $200 extra every month, meaning that like, hey, maybe I can go out to eat more than I want. Or hey, like maybe I want to add, Peacock or HBO Max, another streaming service, right? Once you write down your bills and then you see your income, it lets you know where to start prioritizing your money. Okay, I got $274 left. So let's say like, I want to knock out this credit card right here. Like I just want to start putting all my money on my Amex to knock it out completely. And so what that means is that I'm just going to add exactly $274.02. Make that a little formula. Boom. And there you go. We have exactly $5,000 allocated. That doesn't mean we're going to spend all this, but of our 5,000 available dollars, all 5,000 of it is allocated in our budget. So what this means is that every time we get paid our $2,550, we're going to take $2,500 of that and move it into our bill account. Zero-based budgeting works really easy if you get paid twice a month, like the 15th and the last day of the month. You just take the amount that you need and you transfer it over to your bill account. If you get paid 26 times a year, aka bi-weekly, every other Friday, there's going to be 2 times a year when you get extra paychecks. For the basis of budgeting, it makes more sense if you can create a monthly cost of living budget around the 2 guaranteed paychecks that you're going to get every year, and then just treat those third paychecks as crazy awesome bonuses that you can use to either pay off your debt or to put into your savings, etc. It is possible if you want to draw from those paychecks to use towards your bill account. It is totally possible to do with zero-based budgeting. You just need to do a little legwork. You need to save up essentially one paycheck to start with in your deposit account, because when you transfer money to your bill account every month, you're going to be transferring more than your take-home pay is. So in our example, let's say we bring home $2,550 twice a month. That is $61,000 over the course of 24 paychecks. If we were to divide $64,000 or $61,000 over 26 paychecks, that comes out to $2,350 a month. Well, the amount that we need to transfer to our bill account is $2,500 a month. So every time you transfer money, you're going to be dipping into $150 into that amount, that buffer that you already have built up. Now, it is totally possible. You just need to build up that buffer with that extra paycheck. And by the time that buffer gets low, you're going to have gotten your extra paycheck in order to build that buffer back up. So it is completely possible if you use that third paycheck, but realistically, the easiest thing to do is try to figure out a budget with the 2 paychecks that you know you're going to be bringing home every month. If you have any more questions about that, put it in the comments down below and we'll see if we can work a specific example. Okay, back to the spreadsheet. Now we are actually going to start using our zero-based budget for our January expenses. Let's say today is January 1st. The first thing that we do is transfer $2,500 from our deposit account to our bill account. And you'll see here at the bottom of the spreadsheet, this bottom amount here is the total that should be in our bill account after the first transfer, and then the top total is the total that will be in there after the second transfer. So that top total will match what your current bill in is going to be, whereas that bottom one will be, what's currently in there after that first deposit. So January 1st, we put the money in our bill account. We have $2,500 in our bill account. And on January 1st, we paid our mortgage. All right. So we paid, our current bill out is $1,100. Notice our current bill in is a positive value because we are adding to our bill account. And then our bill out is a negative value because we're taking money out of the bill account. And then we see here that our total paid is that $1,100 and that our total to transfer to surplus, meaning the leftover amount for our mortgage, is $0. We used up every single dollar that we set aside. So essentially, if you put $1,100 in your piggy bank for your mortgage, you took $1,100 right back out and paid it. So there's nothing left in your mortgage. And that's totally fine because the bill is completely paid. All right, let's say on the 5th, you paid your cell phone bill, and your cell phone bill was $100. Okay, let's scroll down to the bottom and say that on January the 4th, you went grocery shopping. So you went to Publix, and you spent $92.50. Notice what happens to the table. We started with a budgeted amount of $1,100, and it's going to automatically add up every value we put into this table, and it's going to tell us our balance, meaning the rest of our allowance for the month, right? We spent $92.50 of our allowance, so we only have $1,000 left. Now this account column here, this is if you're using credit cards. So I personally put everything that I can on a credit card, and then I just pay that credit card off very frequently. I don't have any credit card debt, and so everything I put on a credit card, I just pay it off. But you could also pay things from your debit card directly from your bill account. And so this account column is just whether or not you're going to put it on your Chase credit card, or it could just be bill account. Wherever the money's coming from, just to let you know where that money's coming from. When you enter in a value on the table at the bottom, you also have to remember, if it's on a credit card, it's not coming out of your bill account immediately, but when you transfer that total to your credit card, you have to remember to update the balance of your bill account. You always want to make sure that this balance matches what you actually see in your bank account. And I always like to put the lifestyle expenses due the last day of the month. And I just put in a default date paid just because it's going to be several different times throughout the month. All right. Okay. So our electric bill, say our electric bill came in and we set aside $200, but it was only $142. So on January the 8th, we paid $142. So we didn't pay the entire amount. However, we want to keep that excess set aside because in the really cold months, maybe it's going to be above $200. And what we can do is we can grab some money from surplus from previous months and we can add those together, and then we can use it to pay the bill without having to dip into any of our current month funds. So as you can see right here, when I put in $142, it populated. The amount that I want to transfer to the surplus account is $58. And then after that, my surplus balance in my electric bill line item, so in my electric bill piggy bank, is going to be $58. All right, next we have trash. Remember when I said trash only gets paid 4 times a year and it gets paid in March. So we don't need to spend any trash money this month. So I'm just going to put in the date that it is due technically because it's actually due on March 9th. So you're just going to have the 9th of the month filled in every month, even though it's technically due on March 9th. And so the current bill out, the amount that I'm currently spending on trash this month is $0. And as you can see, when I populate $0, it updates that, okay, now I'm going to transfer $40 for trash into the surplus account. And after that, my surplus balance will be $40. All right, let's say you paid your student loan bill 1 day early, and that was $250. Netflix automatically hits your credit card or your debit card, whatever you want. It's the same amount, $16.99. Your Chase card, we're just kind of holding on for right now because we're focusing on the American Express. So we're just going to pay the minimum payment. It's the old Dave Ramsey snowball method. Just pay the minimum payment while you put your extra money toward another debt. And then when that debt's paid off, now you can shift that money to be paying off your larger bill. So we're just going to pay $369.99. Car payment as well, $450. And then notice we got to the 15th of the month. That means that you should have also transferred $2,500 into your bill account. So now your balance is this number down here. Now, if you want to set up automatic transfers between your accounts, so you can set it up to where on whatever days of the month you choose, your $2,500 will automatically transfer from your deposit to your bill account. That's up to you. I do it manually. It's just a couple pushes of a button. But if you want to automate things to make it easier, go right ahead. All right, now we're just going to pay the rest of these bills. And all right, and then we can't forget we're living life, up at this point. So on the 5th of January, we got gas, and that was minus $60. And then on our Chase credit card on the 10th, we shopped on Amazon, and that was $160. And then on our credit card again, on the 11th, we go grocery shopping every week. So we went back to Publix, spent $110 this time because organic strawberries were on sale. But then we decided that we didn't want to eat what we bought at the grocery store. So on the 11th, we also did DoorDash. And that was $40. And then by this time, it's time to buy gas again. So this is just, once again, all of those expenses that aren't bills, but expenses that you need to live. So that was $55. And so on and so on. You're just spending your money throughout the month. Let's say that our baby had to go to the vet, our baby dog. I don't have any kids. On the 20th, had a tummy ache, vet, and that was, you can't get out of the vet for less than $300, kind of. Okay, so that's what we spent. And then we did our final day of grocery shopping on the 25th, and we spent $100 on groceries. One thing that I did not do as I was entering all these values, I realized I'm just gonna automate that. So on the template, I'm just gonna make this equal to this. And then you know what? You don't even have to worry about re-entering it on there anymore. So on the template that you look at, this will be done already. So every time you enter an expense here, it'll automatically get factored into the amount that is leaving your bill account. And let me just go ahead and pay our final bills. So we paid our internet, $100. All right, I always like to put our savings dates at the end of the month, just because God forbid we need to move some money around to another piggy bank. We shouldn't have to, but in case we do, we haven't already transferred that money out of our account. But this month, we stuck to our guns, we hit our goals, and we were able to transfer all of our money out of the bank account. So now, if you look here, let's scroll down a little bit. We have a couple of options. So of the $1,100 allowance that we've given ourselves for January, we still have $192 left. We didn't spend it all. Brava, congratulations. So what you can do is you can either move that up to pay more on your Amex credit card, or you can keep it in your lifestyle expense account and you can transfer to surplus. Because look, maybe we were a little lean in January. We didn't have a lot we wanted to spend money on, but there's going to come a time during the year where like you spend more than you allotted yourself. And so by accumulating some in lifestyle surplus, you're going to be able to give yourself that money back without it having to come from some other expense category. So let's say that we just made the exact payment, $523.02, onto our American Express card. And so everything is paid for the month. And at the end of the month, the amount in our billing account is $290.50. And you know for a fact that that is correct because the amount to transfer to your surplus account is also $290.50. So this means that you spent all the money you needed to, and now whatever is left, because it didn't have a job this month, we're going to move it to the surplus account. So it is January 31st. You move that money to your surplus account, and guess what? Your balance is $0. And that's why it's called zero-based budgeting. Let's move on to February. So for February, we're going to use the exact same current bill in. And to be honest, I copy this current bill in for the rest of the year, right? Like I plan on putting the same amount of money into each piggy bank every month. Now, it might change during the year, but this is my initial plan. And let's say that happens. So say in February, you decide to get your life together and you decide you want to go to the gym. So you get a gym membership, right? So the gym membership is due on the we'll just say it's in February. So on the 28th of the month. All right. And your gym membership is $35. Now, if we look at our total budgeted, we have $5,035 budgeted. Guess what? We only have $5,000 to put into our budget. So this lets us know that we need to move $35 from one piggy bank to the other. So I am going to deduct $35 from my lifestyle expenses. Where else do we have extra money? We have extra money going onto our American Express credit card, but I'd rather scrimp and save and get that debt down and go without $35 in my lifestyle expenses. But that's up to you. You do whatever you want. Okay, I'm just going to do some Excel magic and get all of these numbers, all these dates populated for February. And once again, when I enter in my bills and my due dates for January, I copy them for the rest of the year. All right, and then my total paid is pretty much going to be the same. So rent is $1,100, cell phone is $100. So in terms of the electric bill, I have the $200 that I set aside for this month, my current bill in, but then I also have that $58 from the surplus account. But I get my electric bill, and alas, it's $145. So now I've paid $145, and of that $200, I'm going to transfer the remaining $55 to the surplus account, and now my total surplus balance is $113 for my electric bill. Meaning that anytime my electric bill comes in and it's over $200, I use the complete $200 from the current bill in, and I use however much of that $113 I need from surplus. Same thing with the trash. Trash isn't due this month, so we're going to be putting $0, and we're going to be transferring the $40, meaning that our balance is now $80. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pay the rest of these bills, and just for the sake of time, I'm going to say that we spent the same amount in lifestyle as last month as well. So now at the end of the month, we have $252 in our bill account, left in our bill account. That's how much we have to transfer. That's how much it's telling us to transfer to our surplus account. And after that, the value or the amount in our surplus account will be $543 in the mixture of the three categories: electric bill, trash, and lifestyle expenses. Okay, so now in March, I'm just going to show you what it looks like because trash is due on March 9th. So we're putting the same amount in each month, and our bills are due on the same day. So now we get a bill for trash. And trash, we have $40 going in for our current month, but we have that $80 left over from the previous 2 months. So say we get our trash bill and our trash bill is $120, and that's the total amount that we pay. Now, typically, we put the amount that we pay here in our current bill out. But since we're grabbing that money from the surplus account, we're only using $40 of currently allocated money. Of March's money, we're only using $40 to pay the trash bill, and we're using the remaining $80 from our surplus. So do you see now the total that we paid is the full $120, but we've exhausted our surplus. So we're not transferring any money to our surplus, and our surplus balance is back to zero because we took all the money out to pay the bill. So all that means is next month, starting in April, we're just going to set $40 aside again and again, and then we're going to pay it on the third month. It's the same routine throughout the entire year. And then you just keep going month over month for the entire year. You transfer the same amount in. You figure out if you need to fiddle with any of the amounts in order to pay a particular bill. Maybe you want to move some money from your lifestyle up to even more debt payoff. Or maybe you want to lower the amount that you're putting in savings temporarily for debt payoff. You can move money around in any of those categories as long as it adds up to the total amount that you're putting in to your bill account, which in this example is $5,000. You can move the amount, the dollar amounts, any way you need to, as long as it adds up to that $5,000. And that is zero-based budgeting in a nutshell. For me, there are lots of benefits to zero-based budgeting. Number one being the consistency. The same amount goes in and comes out every single month. And that's just really helpful to know for future planning exactly how much money I'm going to need. Number two, for me, there are no surprises because you give yourself a buffer with your lifestyle expenses. And really, if you have any extra money that you're putting towards savings or other debt payoff, anytime an unexpected expense pops up, you're free to pull the different levers and to change the amount that you're allocating to each expense category as long as it adds up to that total amount. And then worst comes to worst, say that there is a car expense or like $1,000 expense that pops up that I have to swipe my credit card on. I would add that as an expense category, a separate expense category, even though it's, you already have your credit cards on there. I would add that car issue as its own expense category, and I would dedicate extra money to paying that off. So like any lifestyle extra that I had, I would put it into paying that off month over month until I eliminated it from the budget. So even if unexpected things do come up, you have a way to account for it and you have visibility for paying it off. And then also it's very flexible. So you saw in that example, we added a new expense in the second month of the year, the gym, you just add it onto your list. Now you can insert a row to put it in date chronological order. You can definitely do that, or you can just keep adding it to the bottom. So anytime you get throughout the year and a new expense category pops up that you're going to need to consistently allocate money for, you can just add it to the spreadsheet and then, move the money around in order to account for that total and you're done. Or if in the middle of the year you get a raise and you're able to start funneling more money into your bill account on a monthly basis, you can adjust that number up to allocate more money to saving, brokerage, or debt payoff. It's up to you. It's very, very flexible. The only drawbacks to me is the timing can be a little tricky when things are coming directly out of your bill account. So for instance, sometimes the balances aren't going to match because you might issue a payment on one day, but it doesn't leave your account till the next day. Or you are going to have to transfer new money into the bill account from the deposit account before your surplus can go out because you still have transactions coming through. I mean, that's just like banking and transaction timing and the way that it works. But hopefully using the spreadsheet, you can at least keep visibility on everything and know when you're supposed to move the money that you're supposed to move. To me, that's the only drawback is it's not always as neat and clean in real life as we'd like it to be, just because transactions take different times to post. Okay, so in review, zero-based budgeting is a method of budgeting where every dollar has a job. The optimal way to set up zero-based budgeting is to have 3 bank accounts. Your deposit bank account, where all of your income goes, that gets poured into your bill account, where all of your bills come out of, and at the end of the month, that money gets transferred to your surplus account, any extra money that you have left that you might need in the future. When using the spreadsheet, Determine your expense categories and how much they cost, and determine how much you're going to give yourself for lifestyle expenses based on your income and any savings or investing goals you might have. Every month, you're going to make 2 transfers to your bill account. Once when you get paid the first time of the month, the second when you get paid the second time of the month. It's going to be the same amount each time, month after month. Anything that's left in your bill account at the end of the month gets transferred into surplus so that at the beginning and end of each month, your bill account balance is 0. Finally, make any adjustments you need to throughout the year. Add an expense category, delete an expense category, change the amount that's going into your budget. It really is up to you. This budget has grown with me over the past few years. I've added expenses, I've removed expenses. It's helped me pay off debt. I've gotten raises at work. It's helped me integrate that money into my budget. It really has been a helpful tool that I've used year over year. Thank you so much for joining me in this exhaustive video. Don't forget, subscribe to my channel, Weather's Wealth, where you can follow along my personal finance journey in terms of saving, debt payoff, savings goals, investing, personal finance, retirement, any of that stuff. I'll be talking all about it in 2025 and years beyond. Also, don't forget, if you want to see my zero-based budget video, if you're watching this before a week, it'll be out next week. If you're watching this after that, you can click this right here or go to my channel to watch that video. Thanks, and I will see you around.